Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third town hall in the restructuring of Zeti Private Limited. My name is George. I'm a director with the Crow team that's advising the management of Zeti in the restructuring of effectively the WazirX platform and the crypto claims associated with it. On the town hall with us is Nishal Shetty, co-founder of the WazirX platform. This third town hall aims to provide a status update in respect of the moratorium application that Zeti made with the High Court of Singapore, provide an update on the COC formation methodology that we have recently commenced, and then move into a section on live Q&A where creditors of Zeti may join us here on the Zoom call to ask their questions. The live Q&A will be conducted at the end of this session, and individuals who wish to ask questions of us and have them answered live will be let in one or two at a time into the Zoom call, where you'll be able to ask your questions and have them answered. We very much appreciate your cooperation in this process, and perhaps without further ado, let's kick off. First off is the status update. Zeti had previously applied for a moratorium with the High Court of Singapore. This was done in late August, and the moratorium application was heard by the High Court on 25th of September and 26th of September. The court has granted Zeti a 4-month moratorium from the date of the moratorium order on the 26th of September, having accepted that the poll that Zeti had solicited and put up with creditors was sufficient evidence of its support, with 92% of the respondents of the poll holding $64 million of claims having supported the moratorium. The court also held that Zeti's application had fulfilled the substantive requirements of a moratorium application under the insolvency rules in Singapore, and there was a reasonable prospect of this intended compromise and restructuring working and being acceptable to the general run of creditors. Zeti was granted a court order on the 26th of September and a 4-month moratorium, during which no resolution shall be passed for the winding up of Zeti, and no proceeding shall be commenced or continued against Zeti except for proceedings commenced in advance of 23rd August 2024. Lastly, no execution, distress, or other legal processes may be commenced, continued, or levied against any property of Zeti except with the leave of the court. Effectively, this moratorium allows Zeti the time and the breathing space to work out a restructuring proposal acceptable to the general run of creditors, and allow us to push forward our efforts in bringing the fastest, fairest, and legally binding resolution to crypto balances of the WazirX platform. Thank you very much for your support as creditors. It means a lot to us, and we are doing our best to move this process forward as quickly as possible under this moratorium, which may be extended as required to continue providing Zeti the protection and the space needed to push through a restructuring that's for the benefit of all creditors. The moratorium order was issued subject to a few conditions, which largely comprise the provision of further information by Zeti to creditors and the court, such as the identifying information of the wallet that was hacked and the wallets in which the users remaining, where the remaining crypto assets are being held. Zeti shall also file an affidavit addressing the official record of queries raised by users in the chat room of the hearing. And lastly, an update with the latest management accounts, balance sheets, and profit and loss statement as at 27 August. All of these disclosures will be made in the form of affidavits to the High Court of Singapore and will be provided to Zeti's creditors. Future voting conducted through electronic means will also be done with an independent party or scrutineer overseeing and verifying the process. And lastly, the positions of the top 22 creditors of Zeti will be ascertained in all future indications of support or non-support. Next on the agenda is an update in respect of something entered into very recently. Earlier this week, creditors of Zeta would have received an email announcing the formation of what is called a Committee of Creditors. And the process for the selection and formation of a Committee of Creditors is already underway. The purpose of this section of the Town Hall is to explain what a Committee of Creditors is and how the selection process works for further clarity for the creditor base. Some creditors will have already been reached out to by the company in respect of this selection process. And I hope this section of the Town Hall helps you clarify your thinking in respect of participation in a committee. The Committee of Creditors will be referred to as the COC, and the COC plays a vital consultative role in restructuring proceedings, and this is intended to streamline the feedback process between a very large creditor base and the company and its advisors. As you can imagine, with 4.3 million creditors, it is a challenge to go through a comprehensive feedback process given the sheer volume of creditors and the limited resources on the side of the company. As such, it is essential to be able to let creditors make their views known and for the company to understand these views and understand how best it can be integrated into a restructuring proposal in as efficient a manner as possible. For this reason, a COC can be formed comprising creditors, and the COC will represent creditor interests in discussions with the company. The COC will be involved in detailed discussions with the company and its advisors, largely carried out through text, email, and COC meetings. Now, the Committee of Creditors on the COC is not formed lightly, and there are associated responsibilities with this role, such as providing feedback on creditor preferences and priorities so that the company can better understand the thinking of creditors in order to improve the restructuring for the benefit of creditors. The COC will also be provided with frequent progress updates, which allow them to monitor progress, and also allows them to get a better picture of the overall strategy of how the restructuring is being carried out. It is important to note that COC members represent all creditor interests. And a selection of COC members is intended to be representative of the broader run of creditors. As such, COC members do not represent their own interests on the COC. Instead, they represent all creditors. And this is an important note. COC members will have an obligation to attend COC meetings because that is key in their ability to discharge their responsibilities as a COC member and provide the adequate level of engagement and consultation that the COC was formed to provide to the company in this restructuring process. To be very, very clear and for avoidance of doubt, the COC's role is purely consultative, and the COC is comprised of creditors who have the same voting rights under a scheme as any other creditor who is not on the COC. Any recommendations made by the COC will be considered and taken seriously by the company and its advisors. However, because the COC's role is purely consultative, the company and its advisors, while they will consider said recommendations, are not obligated to integrate them into the restructuring, and the restructuring strategy and ultimate presentation will continue to be at the company's discretion. That said, recommendations by the COC are important because they represent feedback on creditors' preferences, and ultimately the aim here is to take on creditor preferences to the extent that they are able to facilitate an effective, swift, and equitable restructuring. In terms of a COC selection, there are a number of possible methodologies, and we have ultimately arrived at one that we believe balances the two main considerations of count and value. Our analysis of the creditor claims have identified that there's a significant and heavy bias towards lower value claims, with 87% of creditors by count representing only 8% of creditor claims by value. And as such, a pure random sampling by count of the total creditor base is unlikely to provide fair representation, and such a methodology would necessarily bias the representation towards low-value claims at the expense of higher-value claims, and this affects the fairness of representation. This is also why we are not going purely by a count method. Now, in contrast, value is not likely to be on its own representative either, because of the significant volume of creditors with smaller claims. These two key issues need to be balanced out in order to select a COC that is adequately representative of the broader creditor base. And as such, the company and its advisors have developed a selection methodology to ensure that the COC will be comprised of creditors with varying levels of claims to ensure fair representation of creditor views across the broad range of creditors. Here's a high-level overview of the COC selection process. Effectively, we start with $546.5 million in claims, and that total claim body is split into 10 equal tranches by value. Each tranche represents approximately 54.65 million in claims. That's the value aspect of the selection process. Now, each 1% of the creditors in each tranche, and this is a metric generated by count, will be randomly selected and invited to register their interest to join the COC. Creditors who have been selected in these tranches would have received a separate email from the company inviting them to indicate their interest to join the COC via the completion of a Google form link. Creditors who have both been selected from these tranches and indicated their interest will form the final, what we call a potential COC member pool in step 4 there. And from the tranches of the potential COC member pool, one respondent from each tranche will be randomly selected to become a member of the COC, ultimately populating a selection of 10 COC members from the broader run of creditors. That's at a high level. This has been split into 2 phases, which is also disclosed in the email that went out from the company earlier this week. Effectively, the way that we do it is that we line the list of creditors up from smallest at the top to largest at the bottom. In total, all claims in that list total 546.5 million. And then we divide that list into 10 sections, with each section representing 10% of the total value of claims. So each of those 10 tranches comprise approximately 54.65 million of claims, with different numbers of creditors inside each tranche. Now, within each tranche, 1% of creditors by number will be selected at random to establish what we call the contingent creditor pool. Because you're going off a 1% by number in every tranche, every creditor has an equal chance of selection within their tranches. And because these tranches have already been adjusted by value via the initial process of establishing the 10% tranches, this mitigates the impact of the significant number of creditors with low claims, allowing representation from every part of the range of value held by creditors. Now, creditors who have been selected to the contingent creditor pool will be able to indicate their interest by the stipulated deadline of 7 October. And only creditors who do that will be eligible to participate in phase 2 of the COC formation process. It is important to note that acceptance into phase 2 of the COC formation process is subject to creditors' acceptance of their status as contingent unsecured creditors in the restructuring being pursued by ZI. Creditors who are eligible to participate in phase 2 of the COC selection process will form the potential COC member pool. In each of the tranches of the potential COC member pool, one COC member will be randomly selected. And effectively, with 10 tranches, with one member from each, you'll be able to repopulate the COC, which will comprise 10 COC members. And these 10 COC members, due to the methodology, allows us to populate a COC of varying claims and in an equitable way, both by value and by count. It's important to note that the COC opt-in process, COC position is a purely voluntary one. So creditors who are not willing to participate in the COC will not be forced to do so. We've come to the end of the explanation on the COC selection process. We hope this has been clarifying. And having said that, we can reserve most of the time on this third town hall for the Q&A process, which we will commence now. The proceedings will be as such, and it will be similar to the previous town hall that we carried out. Effectively, if you want to ask a question, you have to join the Zoom waiting room, and creditors who want to ask questions will be let in one or two at a time, where you'll be able to ask questions and have them answered live. We allocate approximately 2 minutes for each question, which allows us to try to maximize the limited use of time to answer as many questions from creditors as possible. Once your questions are answered, you'll be removed from the Zoom call to allow the next few creditors to come in and ask their questions. We very much appreciate your cooperation in this process as we try to address as many questions as possible from the creditor base. With that, Zetai team, shall we let in the first few creditors, please?
Torrin, please go ahead and ask a question.
Yes. See, the major problem is so many users are understanding Hindi or maybe local language. So this is literally difficult for them. तो मैं एक बार हिंदी में पूछना चाहता हूँ कि
Torrin, please go ahead and ask a question.
हाँ, मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि see, the major problem is so many users are understanding Hindi or maybe local language. So this is literally difficult for them. तो मैं एक बार हिंदी में पूछना चाहता हूँ कि
Torrin, please go ahead and ask a question.
हाँ, मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि see, the major problem is so many users.
So Arlene, please close the YouTube app on your mobile now.
Yeah.
Literally difficult for them. तो मैं एक बार हिंदी में पूछना चाहता हूँ कि
Torrin, please go ahead and ask a question.
हाँ, मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ. Sorry. My question is, WazirX टीम हमको अलाउड करे कि एटलीस्ट एक मेंबर हम लोग चूज करके दे, एटलीस्ट वन मेंबर. सी, ये आमने सामने की बात है. अगर आप हमको हेल्प कर रहे हो, हम आपको हेल्प कर रहे हो, तो एटलीस्ट एक मेंबर हमारी तरफ से हम लोग वोटिंग करके आपको बोलेंगे कि एक मेंबर प्लीज हमको चूज करने के लिए दो. एक मेंबर, सिंगल वन. दिस इज द रिक्वेस्ट.
So sorry, I think when you say हम लोग, there's बहुत सारे लोग हैं.
हाँ जी.
और ये पूरा प्रोसेस करने में ही बहुत टाइम चला जाएगा. इसलिए हम लोगों ने रैंडम किया है कि कोई चूज नहीं कर रहा है. रैंडमली 1% ऑफ यूजर्स को चूज किया था और उनको ईमेल भेजा गया था.
इश्यू क्या है कि काफी सारे लोग ऐसे हैं कि जिनको पता ही नहीं है कि इसको कैसे आंसर करे, क्या करे. एटलीस्ट हमारे पास सोनू भाई है, तो वो सीए है, तो एटलीस्ट वो एक चीज रिप्रेजेंट करेंगे हमारी साइड से, तो हमको चलेगा. और इसके लिए हम एक या दो नाम, एडी भाई, सोनू भाई, एटलीस्ट एक या दो नाम हम लोग ऐसे रिफर कर सकते हैं, जिसमें से अगर वोटिंग मिलता है तो आप उनको यस कीजिए. जस्ट इतना ही रिक्वेस्ट है और कुछ भी नहीं.
और आप जब नहीं, मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, आप जब हम बोलते हैं ना, तो वहां पे 4.28 मिलियन लोग हैं. तो सिर्फ आपका बात सुन के एक को नॉमिनेट नहीं कर सकते. फिर हर लोगों से, हर एक से पूछना पड़ेगा. और हर एक का अलग अलग आंसर आएगा, और फिर एक बड़ा लिस्ट बनेगा, फिर वो लिस्ट पे वापस वोटिंग करना पड़ेगा। ये एक बहुत लंबा प्रोसेस जाने वाला है सिर्फ सीओसी कमिटी फॉर्म करने के लिए। हम लोग को एक सबसे ज्यादा जो रिक्वेस्ट आया है कि जितना जल्दी हो सके रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग कीजिए आप। तो इसलिए हमने क्या चूज किया कि सीओसी में फास्टेस्ट तरीका क्या है, ये था रैंडम, ना हम चूज करेंगे ना हम पूरा, क्योंकि नहीं तो ये पोलिंग करना है ना, देखो आप एक नाम बोल रहे हो, अभी हम हर यूजर से पूछेंगे, राइट?
एटलीस्ट
ऐसा हो सकता है 10,000 नाम आ सकते हैं,
एक क्वालिफाई पर्सन,
ऐसे
जैसे
हो सकता है ना।
एक
नहीं
सीए हम कर सकते हैं, एक सीए
नहीं,
हो।
कैसे डिसाइड करेंगे कौन होना चाहिए वो, क्योंकि सबसे पूछना पड़ेगा ना, सिर्फ आपसे पूछ के तो नहीं कर सकते, तो सबको वोटिंग लगाना पड़ेगा। अब वो वोटिंग में किसके नाम डाले, 5 नाम डाले, 10 नाम डाले, 1,000 नाम डाले,
हम्म
उसके लिए भी सबको पूछना पड़ेगा। मतलब मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, ये इतना सिंपल नहीं है, आई अंडरस्टैंड आप क्या बोल रहे हो, लेकिन आप हमारी तरफ से सोचो, क्योंकि हमने एक नाम डाल दिया तो उस पे भी आएगा कि आपने ये नाम क्यों चूज किया, मैं आपको 5 और नाम दे रहा हूँ, मैं आपको, और कोई बोलेगा मैं आपको 50 और नाम दे रहा हूँ, उनको
हम्म
सबको वोटिंग पे डालो। तो
हम्म
ये प्रोसेस में क्या हो जाएगा, हम लोग 1 2 3 हफ्ता 4 हफ्ता तो यही प्रोसेस में चले जाएंगे, तो
हम्म
सीओसी फॉर्म नहीं होएगा जल्दी से।
ओके।
इसलिए हमने क्या किया कि कोई भी नॉमिनेट नहीं करे, प्रोग्राम लिखा है, रैंडम नंबर है, जो
हम्म
4.28 मिलियन यूजर्स है ना,
हम्म
उसमें से 40,000 लोगों को चूज किया इस प्रोग्राम में, ठीक है?
हाँ
और अभी उनको ईमेल चले गए हैं,
हाँ
अब उनके ऊपर है कि वो लोग एक फॉर्म दिया है उसमें ईमेल में कि आप उसमें डालो, तो ये 40,000 में से मे बी आई डोंट नो 100 लोग आएंगे, 1,000 लोग आएंगे जो चूज करेंगे,
हाँ
वापस प्रोग्राम रन करेंगे, वहां से भी एक एक लोगों को हर कैटेगरी में चूज करेंगे, तो वैसे 10 लोग होंगे। ये
ठीक है।
फास्टेस्ट प्रोसेस था। तो मैं ये डिनाई नहीं कर रहा हूँ, आप जो बोल रहे हो ना, आई अग्री, और हमने ये भी डिसाइड किया कि ये कर सकते हैं क्या, पर इसमें भी तो फेयरनेस चाहिए ना, तो हर एक से पूछेंगे, करेंगे, 3 हफ्ते 4 हफ्ते लग जाएंगे, दैट इज द बिगर प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे।
प्रॉब्लम क्या हो रहा है कि एजुकेशन वाइज सब लोग इतना कीन नहीं है, अगर हम किसी को चूज करते हैं बाद में वो वहां पर आके ऐसे रैंडम जो बंदा है और वो अगर कुछ भी अब्यूज करेगा तो वो तो टीम के बाहर जाएगा। तो
अभी
रैंडम ये सबसे बड़ा इशू है। सो इसलिए मैं सोच रहा था
ठीक,
कि प्लीज एक क्वालिफाई पर्सन हो जो सीए या ऐसा कुछ भी हो, सो दैट इज बेटर। अगर कुछ भी हो सके तो
देखो
एक
हम,
इसको आप कंसिडर
यार
कीजिए।
लेट मी टेक दिस फीडबैक एंड एक बार, देखो अभी तो प्रोसेस तो चालू कर दिया, तो जो अभी एग्जिस्टिंग ये जो 10 लोग हैं वो तो
हाँ
फॉर्म हो जाएंगे। एक
हाँ
बार हम लोग को इंटरनली डिस्कस करने तो कुछ और कर सकते हैं, लेकिन हम लोग जो भी करेंगे ना हमको फेयरली करना पड़ेगा। हम लोग 10 लोग या 20 लोग बोल रहे हैं कि एक नाम दो और उसको ऐड करो, तो 20 लोग में तो हम लोग नहीं डाल सकते ना, हमको
जैसे
सबसे
हमने
पूछना पड़ेगा, दैट इज द
जैसे
प्रॉब्लम।
जैसे वो वोटिंग होके जो अभी ये मॉनिटोरियम जो पास हुआ तो उसमें भी नंबर ऑफ वोटर्स कम थे। सेम वे अगर परसेंटेज के हिसाब से यस और नो में अगर नंबर ऑफ वोटर्स ज्यादा मिलते हैं, मीन 90% मिल गए कि जो हाँ कोई एक पर्टिकुलर आदमी है उसको यस बोल रहे तो उसको हम कंसिडर कर सकते हैं। अगर ऐसा कुछ भी हम लोग एक चांस दो तो हमारे लिए इजी हो जाएगा, क्योंकि सबका ये कैपेसिटी नहीं है कि वो लोग बात कर सके, वो लोग सही चीज रिप्रेजेंट कर सके। तो हमको पता है कि
राइट।
3 4 जन है जो रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं, तो एक बार उसके लिए, क्योंकि टीम की तरह काम कर रहे हैं अभी, तो एक बंदे को एक चांस देना चाहिए। एक बार
पर
इसको
इसमें वो
कंसिडर कीजिए।
ये एक स्टेप का नहीं है, अगर ये करना भी है ना 2 या 3 स्टेप होंगे, बिकॉज आप जो बोल रहे हो ना वोटिंग करें हम लोग,
हाँ
वहां पे कौन से नाम डाले वो उसके लिए मेरे को लगता है 2 या 3 स्टेप, बिकॉज पहले जब हम लोग को एक फॉर्म डालना पड़ेगा कि नाम एंटर करो और उसका
हाँ
ईमेल एंटर करो, जो
हाँ
आपको नॉमिनेट करना है। अब
हाँ
नॉमिनेशन में हजारों लोग आएंगे, तो
हाँ
वो नॉमिनेशन में वापस उसको हम लोग को एक पोल रन करना पड़ेगा, 1 हफ्ते के लिए तो पोल रन करना पड़ेगा,
हम्म
जैसे हमने लास्ट टाइम किया था। उसमें
हाँ
से शॉर्टलिस्ट हो जाएंगे, फिर
हम्म
वापस एक पोल रन करो, तो
हम्म
मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ 2 3 हफ्ते तो मिनिमम जाएंगे वो 4 या 5 नाम आने के लिए, जहां पे आप लोग इवेंचुअली वोट करोगे। तो
हम्म
ये बहुत लंबा प्रोसेस है, दैट्स द ओनली थिंग। बट
ठीक।
हैविंग सेड दैट विल डेफिनेटली हम लोग को सोचने दो इंटरनली, हम लोग वी आर ट्राइंग टू एडजस्ट ये वर्सेस स्पीड, बिकॉज
हाँ
सीओसी जितना जल्दी फॉर्म होगा ना तो उतना जल्दी सब कम्युनिकेशन हो सकता है सब क्रेडिटर्स के लिए, तो जस्ट अबाउट टाइमिंग, दैट्स
हाँ
ऑल।
आप भी एक बार सोचिए, हम भी एक बार कुछ ट्राई करते हैं
फॉर
अगर कुछ।
श्योर,
थैंक यू।
फॉर श्योर, थैंक यू सो मच।
Manish, would you like
मनीष,
to ask your question, please? Go ahead and unmute.
Hi George, hi Nisha. Am I audible to you?
योर
Manish,
वॉइस इज
please
इकोइंग।
close your YouTube app.
Hello, am I audible to you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
या
yeah. Nischal and George, my question is not specific about this creditor committee. It is more about the restructuring that ultimately WazirX is planning. So how long is it going to take? Can you like specify, since you have got 4 months of moratorium from court? So how long can we further expect this to take? Like 5 months, 3 months, 6 months? Because I like wish that it should be completed before the 4 months timeline that is stipulated by the court. So first is the timeline that is this entire process is going to take, and the other thing is I asked you last time as well, George, since like we have been holding our cryptos before the hack on the platform, and you have filed your affidavit about your balances in the court as of 27th of August. So if like this 3 to 4 months or 5 months, whatever it is going to take between the restructuring and the restitution of assets, what, like, suppose if I was holding one Bitcoin in my portfolio, and at the time of you filing the affidavit in the court, it was $60,000, let's say, and the 52 to 55% of that USD liability will turn around to be $31,000 approximately, let's say. So will you be providing me Bitcoin worth $31,000 after 4 to 6 months, and like, or you would be providing me the Bitcoin valued today in that time frame? Like if I have to receive my Bitcoin, one Bitcoin holded on the platform today, or when you filed the affidavit, it was around 0.52 affidavit as like 0.52 BTC, as Jason stated last time. What about the upside that we are going to miss in this 4 to 6 months of the time frame due to like, let's say if there is a bull run? So what about these 4 to 6 months of period that you are taking for redistributing our assets? And what about the upside? Will you be sharing that upside with us, or will that be like locked to you, or you will be only distributing its USD liability to us? Because in 4 to 6 months later, like if I have to receive 0.52 BTC today, 6 months later I would be receiving only 0.26 BTC if we are considering the BTC price goes up to 120K dollars. So I just need more clarity on this, and this I have asked in the chat room of the court as well. So I need answers to this, since we were not clear last time about this.
That's fine, Manish. Two very good questions. Let me address them one at a time. We have a moratorium for 4 months. We expect that the process will take at least that long, and we are doing everything that we can to expedite it. To the extent that it takes longer than that, we will need to extend the moratorium. However, we don't expect to be extending it for a significantly longer time. We are pushing as hard as possible. 4 months will be, in our view, the minimum time it will take to push this forward, at least to have the conclusion of voting. And this is because of a variety of court requirements, including the time between the filing of an application for a scheme meeting and actually holding having the court hear the application, because of the time required for creditors to read, assess and understand and write their own affidavits back in. So that there are a number of timelines involved. However, we are doing our best to expedite it. Now, to answer your next question about how we are going to how your Bitcoin is going to be affected. In essence, if you held one Bitcoin in your platform balances, key that is not your Bitcoin, it's your platform balance in this case, because every creditor is an contingent unsecured creditor of ZI. The way it works is that the value of your Bitcoin in US dollars is divided by the value of all claims in US dollars. And let's just say purely for illustrative purposes that Bitcoin is worth 5%, right, of all claims. Effectively, if you want to receive distributions in Bitcoin, we'll allow you to. We will allocate a value equivalent of our liquid assets, equivalent to 5% of the liquid assets, and hold it in Bitcoin. So any price movement between that point and forward, you will get the benefit of. If Bitcoin goes up by 50%, that balance of Bitcoin that we have rebalanced and are holding for you will go up in value by 50% as well. And when we manage to redistribute it after a scheme is successfully voted on and approved, you will get the full value that accrues from the increase in token prices on that balance of BTC. And to be clear, when we do this, creditors like yourself will get to choose whether you want to receive it in Bitcoin, ETH, or other tokens. And once we lock in that balance of tokens for you, and other creditors. Creditors will get the benefit of any movement in the markets. However, because the movement in the markets are not guaranteed, it may not always go up. Creditors will also be subject to the volatility that brings prices downwards. But the key thing is that Zetai, as a company, is not retaining any of the upside or the downside, and creditors have the choice of whether or what tokens they want market exposure to. So, Manish, if you have put that inside the questions during the court hearing, rest assured you'll get an answer in writing, because one of the court's requirements is to respond in writing via affidavit to address questions that were posed to the court. So I've given you the answer verbally, but you'll see it in the affidavit that we put to court as well.
I got your point, George, but I want to be clear on this. If your liabilities were $546 million at the time of filing the affidavit, and your assets, the liquid assets, were around $283 million dollars, worth of $283 million dollars, as you told in the last town hall. So if those liquid assets, let's say, goes they rise to around, let's say, $1,000 million dollars, let's say $1 billion dollars they rise to. So what are will you be providing us the Bitcoin in the proportionate to the assets of $1,000 million, or in proportionate to the $283 million that you filed on the date of moratorium of application? So that is
Okay.
bring more clarity to us on.
I understand your question, Manish. So you're saying that, okay, so based on the affidavit numbers, liquid assets are approximately 52% of claims, right? You're asking what happens if between now and the restructuring prices go up and the assets are worth, let's say, 80%, 100%, 120%. The question is what happens, right? The answer is the same. Basically, in my previous example, if the Bitcoin in your platform balances are worth 5% of all claims in USD, you will get 5% of the liquid assets, regardless of what they're worth, and they will be rebalanced into the choice of your token.
As you stated, George, Zeta will not be holding any of the assets upside between now and till the time that the restructuring and the redistribution happens. Any of the upside in the liquid assets will be shared to us, right? You're saying that, right?
That's correct.
Okay, George, thank you so much for answering my questions, and that's all for my side for now. And Nishchal, I would request you, it's my humble request, that please expedite this process as soon as possible. We are following you, we are supporting you. Please maintain our trust, and don't let us down. And we wish that you resolve this as swiftly as possible, as you are commenting on Twitter. So we wish that you resolve
Thank you,
this as
Manish.
swiftly as possible.
Yeah, that's our objective. Look, we need support from all of you if we have to go fast, and that's why we're trying to put everything in motion really quickly. The creditor committee is also going to help us a lot, because that helps in faster communication. But yeah, our objective is to do this as soon as possible. We don't want to wait. We want to be able to release the tokens for everyone as soon as possible. So it's aligned. We are on the same page. We'll try our best. We're completely focused on that. Speed is our first priority right now.
Thank you so much, Nishal. And is there any update on the white knight process, or something that is going to be contributed from your side to the loss and the hole that is created, as I asked last time? So is there any plan? And also, I would like to ask you, last time you told us that we would be seeing an update in WazirX platform. There will be a stimulator that would be showing us the current platform balances to the after the restructuring and redistribution. What is the progress, and how and when we are going to expect that thing to happen? So please share some more clarity on that.
Right. So that's under development. And we are, I think, I don't have an exact ETA, but we'll bring it sooner. And in fact, that would address, the very question that you asked. And we understand that clarity is important. So we are bringing that simulator really quickly. As far as the discussions around, the white knights and how do we fill the gap, that's ongoing. And I think more clarity will come when we put out the scheme doc. So we're going to work on a scheme where a lot more clarity will come in around those aspects.
So how long can we expect this scheme to be documented and be put on to the code? what is your expected ETA that you will be putting it to the court and applying for the scheme, and we get the restored tokens from your side?
George,
Hey
want to
Manish,
take this?
that's a good question, and that's being worked on right now. We are cracking away at formulating and conceptualizing the scheme and putting it into the form that can be put to the court. We expect this is going to take a couple of months as we work through many different work streams, including what you just mentioned, the White Knights, the understanding of how we can deliver value through operations, forensics tracing. As you can imagine, there's a lot going on, but we hope to get some very good news to you within the next 2 or 3 months.
So thank you so much for clearing and answering all my doubts. Thank you so much, Nishal. Thank you so much, George, for clarifying all these doubts. It would be really
Thanks,
appreciated if you
Manish.
guys put it as soon as possible and bring us the solution as swiftly as possible, because we are in a lot of trouble and we have losing the liquidation to our crypto assets that were not supposed to be the case. It is like severe than the hack. What is actually causing us? WazirX is holding our assets, and this case is ongoing. This is really like trembling to us. So we wish the solution to come as soon as possible. So it's my humble request to you all, like to you guys, that you please like resolve this as soon as possible. That is my only request, and thank you for answering all my queries. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Manish. We are working as hard as we can in that same direction. We understand how critical it is that we move fast, and we have that at the front of mind. Thank you, and have a good day. Gorish, would you like to ask a question? Zeta team, can we let a couple more creditors in, please?
Akshat, can you hear us? Akshat or Gaurish, one of you can ask us the question.
Good afternoon,
Yeah,
everybody.
yes, sir. Hey, hi.
I will ask my question in Hindi again, since most of the users are Hindi speaking. So that's why I'll ask my question in Hindi only. First of all, Mr. Nishal, मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ आपसे कि सारे यूजर्स आपके साथ है, वी सपोर्ट यू, बट हम चाहते हैं कि थोड़ा सा आप इस प्रोसेस को थोड़ा जल्दी करें, सो दैट यूजर्स का ट्रस्ट रिबिल्ड हो जाए वापस WazirX पे. माय क्वेश्चन इज अगेन, मेरा वही क्वेश्चन है सेम जो मैंने लास्ट टाइम आपसे पूछा था रिगार्डिंग पोस्ट हैक INR, जिन्होंने पोस्ट हैक INR डिपॉजिट किया था. क्योंकि जो फॉर एग्जांपल उसमें मैं भी एक यूजर हूँ, 18 जुलाई को मेरा INR 0 था WazirX अकाउंट में, स्नैपशॉट डेट पे मेरा INR 0 था. मैंने 19 जुलाई को किया था डिपॉजिट INR. तो लेकिन जब स्नैपशॉट दिखा रहा है तो स्नैपशॉट डेट पे मेरा INR दिखा रहा है वैल्यू जो मैंने 19 जुलाई को डिपॉजिट किया था, जो कि नहीं होना चाहिए था वैसा. तो उस पे आपने बोला था वी आर टॉकिंग विद लीगल एंड हम जल्दी अनाउंस करेंगे उस बारे में. तो प्लीज कैन यू क्लैरिफाई अस, वो कब तक आप जो पोस्ट हैक एटलीस्ट जो पोस्ट हैक डिपॉजिट हुआ था उसको आप कब रिलीज कर रहे हैं?
ETA मेरे पास नहीं है अनफॉर्चुनेटली, एंड आई रिमेम्बर ये और ये अभी भी हम लोग को आई थिंक सपोर्ट में इसके अराउंड क्वेरीज आ रहे हैं. मे बी आई थिंक बिकॉज हम लोग लास्ट 2 वीक्स हम लोग वी वर इन दिस, ये पूरा रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग में हम लोग जो कोर्ट का हियरिंग चल रहा था, और उसके बाद अभी जो COC करना है उसमें हम लोग ज़्यादा बिजी हो गए थे और वो कर रहे थे. लेकिन आई थिंक ये वाला maybe 1 to 2 weeks. Give us 1 to 2 weeks. Let me इसको we'll take up on priority and try to get it done in 1 to 2 weeks for sure.
Thank you so much. God
Yeah.
bless you.
I'm
Another
so
question.
sorry about this. Yeah. But I remember. We'll get this done. Just थोड़ा prioritization कर रहे थे हम लोग दूसरी
God
चीजों
bless
में.
you. God bless you. You will come out stronger out of this. I believe in you. We
Thank
all
you.
believe in you. हमने आप पे ट्रस्ट किया था.
Thank you.
तो वो ट्रस्ट अभी भी है आप पे. बस आप इस प्रॉब्लम को जल्द से जल्द सॉल्व करिए हमारे लिए. और एक क्वेश्चन है,
Sure.
यूरोप में शायद USDT को वो दिसंबर से कॉइन मार्केट ने कुछ न्यूज़ दी थी कि हम शायद USDT को सपोर्ट नहीं करेंगे, हम खाली USDC और अदर स्टेबल कॉइन्स को आप सपोर्ट करेंगे, क्योंकि उन्होंने कुछ कॉम्प्लाइंस फॉलो नहीं किया है. तो यूजर्स का ये भी क्वेश्चन था कि जो यूएसडीटी होल्डिंग्स है अभी WazirX के पास, क्या वो किसी और स्टेबल कॉइन में वो इमीडिएटली अपने एंड पे चेंज कर सकते हैं फ्रॉम यूएसडीटी टू यूएसडीसी और एनी अदर स्टेबल कॉइन जो भी है मार्केट्स में अवेलेबल?
आप पूछे मतलब हम करेंगे कि इन द प्लेटफॉर्म ऐसे ऑप्शन देंगे कि आप स्विच
नहीं नहीं,
करो।
आप खुद करें बैक एंड पे, क्योंकि कॉइन मार्केट कैप का आज न्यूज आ गया था, उन्होंने कुछ अपडेट दिया था कि वो शायद दिसंबर से सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे अब यूएसडीसी को, यूएसडीटी को, सॉरी, जो यूएसडीटी स्टेबल कॉइन है वो उसको सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे अब। शायद वो डिलिस्ट कर रहे हैं कॉइन मार्केट कैप, क्योंकि उन्होंने कुछ फॉलो नहीं किया है कॉम्प्लाइंस, यूरोप की कॉम्प्लाइंस। तो उस वजह से जो भी यूजर्स की क्वेरीज है ये आया है। I will read this for you. Upcoming change to stablecoin support in the EEA. Due to the new European markets in crypto assets regulation, Coinbase will restrict service for stablecoins that do not meet MiCA requirements by 30th December.
ओके, आई थिंक ये बिकॉज आई थिंक यूरोप में कुछ स्पेसिफिक रेगुलेशंस आए हुए हैं। एक तो हमको कंप्लायंस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से हमें भी चेक करना पड़ेगा क्या है, और उसके बाद हम लोग कुछ इस पे डिसाइड कर सकते हैं। हैविंग सेड दैट, अभी आई थिंक ये जो रीबैलेंसिंग होना है, राइट, आई थिंक वो ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है। बिफोर उससे पहले कुछ मूव करना, आई एम नॉट श्योर। हमने अभी लीगल ओपिनियन नहीं लिया कि हम कुछ ऐसे कर सकते हैं कि नहीं, तो वो तो एक बार हमको लीगली पता करना पड़ेगा। बट एक बार ये रीबैलेंसिंग हो जाए, रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग हो जाए, उसके बाद क्या आपको हम कुछ ऐसा प्रोविजन दे सकते हैं, या तो क्या हम आपसे कोई ओके ले सकते हैं और कर सकते हैं कि नहीं, वो डेफिनेटली हम लोग डिसाइड कर सकते हैं, बट दैट विल बी आफ्टर रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग के बाद। बट उससे पहले आई एम नॉट श्योर। आई मीन मेरे को लीगली भी चेक करना पड़ेगा, और वेदर इट अप्लाइज हमारे केस में, और इज इट ओनली यूरोप में है, वो भी एक बार कंसिडर करना पड़ेगा। बट पॉइंट टेकन, we'll definitely look into that. If it applies and it is necessary, we'll do whatever is required.
Thank you so much. God bless
But
you.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about the compliance part yet on that.
Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you. We support you. Please come
Thank you
out
so
of
much,
this.
Silji. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you too.
I'd like to flag that we have 15 minutes left on the agenda. So perhaps let's go next with Akshat. I believe I saw you in the room earlier. Please unmute and ask your question.
I think Akshat is having some problem because, yeah, he's been here, but I can still see him unmuted. No, muted. Or maybe, you've got Atul, Sajjad. Anyone else? Atul,
Atul, do you want to ask a
Yeah,
question?
Sajjad. Okay,
yeah.
Sajjad, go ahead.
Hello,
Yeah.
Nishchal.
Hi.
Hello. Actually, I had one question. Can we just take some charge of fees from the customers, like recovering our losses, or starting just trading for the coins, like that can help us to recover, like starting trading on our platform. So that would help us to generate revenue for WazirX to recover the losses and to run the company as well. So
Thanks,
like
Sajjad. Yeah.
2000 INR, like $25 from each. Like we have 4.4 millions, more than 4 millions customers. So that can help us, like minimum amount or some amount we can charge with from our customers. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I think on a lot of people had written to me also. I got a lot of messages on direct messages on Twitter. A lot of people messaged me, emailed me about this. Lot as in, I mean, there was a good number, and over the last 1 to 2 months. Maybe George, to give you context, what Sajjad is saying, that why don't we sort of there's this gap from the cyber attack, which is 230 million plus. Why don't we charge a fixed number from each of the 4.28 million people, which would cover up the gap rather than going at a percentage basis? You want to take that?
That's an interesting concept. Charging everyone based on a specific amount to cover up the gap. Off the
But
top of
it'll
my
be an
head,
average of
isn't that
$50 or $60 per person.
uh, uh that doesn't cover the gap, I believe. Um, for a start, one of the issues there would be not every account has $50 to charge, right? There's a very broad spread of claims across the creditor base. Um, that's an interesting idea, Sajjad. Let me have a think about that. I don't quite have a response for you right now, but in respect of potentially reactivating the platform and reactivating the crypto exchange, which allows us to collect fees and profits which we can share with creditors, that's certainly on the agenda, as we have previously disclosed in the restructuring proposal. And we are actively exploring how that can be done.
Yeah, I think
Your,
Sajjad, also I think
yeah.
you'll get a better clarity if you see our announcement around the COC formation. Also, we've actually sort of shown the breakdown of where the majority of the value lies, and
Mm-hmm.
that's on a smaller percentage of users versus the long tail of customers. So majority of those 4.28 million usually have smaller numbers, $5, $10, $20. So what that means is that you can't really have like a $50-$60 per account deduction, because that
No, Nischal, my
most
point
accounts
was,
don't have that.
yeah, my point was not taking from their balances, like from the wallets they have with us, like from the, like they, if they they can just, like we will take it from them, like take a poll or anything, like if you can, like
Yeah,
$50, so we can
ask
take
everyone whether
not
they
from
want to
their wallets,
volunteer or something.
not
Yeah, yeah,
from their from their own pockets,
right, right,
like
right.
like you
See,
have to wait for too many months and it will take time to restructure WazirX. So can we just take the money and start trading, or charge amount and start trading as well? So it will go vice versa, like it will help WazirX to grow as well and to recover all the losses. So
you
there
see,
will be
I
not,
think for
yeah.
us, right now, given the limited bandwidth we have and the limited time that we have, where we want to get into restructuring fast, if we um, unless it's a guaranteed outcome, we don't know, right? This we'll have to put it out, and then we'll have to spend 3 to 4 weeks, making this happen. And if it does not work out, then again you need to get back on track. But that will just delay by a month or two the whole restructuring. So what we're trying to do is our first focus, our first priority is how fast can we get to restructuring so that we can open up the platform. Everything else is secondary, and if we have the bandwidth, we will try it. But there are just so many things to do. We really need to, take into account, what's the priority. But we don't want to lose sight of the restructuring, because if we put that down and try all of these things, and if they don't, work, it just delays the process, unfortunately. So, but we'll definitely, this is what you're suggesting is being thought about. We did consider this. We just had to decide, do you want to take that risk and try this out for several weeks or months to execute this, versus do we, um, focus on the restructuring? Unfortunately, there's only limited bandwidth and time, and we don't want to, extend the process unnecessarily for everyone.
Yes, Nischal, but we can just have a poll on it. Like it would help us, like financially, it will help the company to grow as well. Like that point of view, I'm saying, like we have to take risk. Like we have taken too many risks for the company. Now this, that it's a minimal risk for us to take charges from the customers.
Yeah,
Like they
I
are
think there are
waiting. Like they
implementation
are,
challenges, such
yeah,
as
yeah.
in all of that. There are implementation challenges as well. For example, when you charge like that, from a taxation point of view, from an implementation point of view, how does this all translate? What is that you're taking that for? Um, so there are quite a few implementation challenges also. First is, the idea, the time it takes. Are you completely certain that this will work or not? How long will it take to do this? Then the
Mm-hmm.
second is, if you were to do it, what are the challenges that come in terms of compliance, regulatory, and so all of this, it takes longer because this is not a natural thing, right?
Yeah.
It does not, there's no playbook where, you can just see that this has happened 10 times, let's do it. I'm just saying that, and then you need to take legal opinions. So any of these, like, they seem like, it's quick, but as a company for us to do, it takes a longer time period and a lot of, steps. So it's just that. And I don't want to simply tell you that, we'll think back because we've already, by the way, we've put thought into this. Internally, we decided, discussed, and said that this will delay things further. So for now, let's keep it on the back burner. And then, try to work on things that are more possible in a shorter period of time. So yeah, unfortunately, that's the situation right now.
It's okay. Think upon it with the team. What's your opinion? You can share. No worries.
No, I appreciate, and I think more, solutions are better. But ultimately, the focus is what gets us closer to, restarting, and getting people to be able to, trade again. That's the objective.
Yeah, like my opinion was like starting the trading platform would be better because the trust between the customers we have to maintain it, because like Indian thinking is like the trust they lose very, like human point of view, the trust we lose very easily. So that's what was my point.
Absolutely. And I think, it's going to take a lot of effort to rebuild the trust, but we are here and we're going to do whatever we can to, get that trust back. And these are hard times, challenging times for all of our, members. And I want to make sure that we are here. We solve this.
Yeah.
But speed is of the essence. So top
Yeah.
priority is speed. How do we get, closer to the solution faster? And we are also trying to split this into, multiple parts. Like first is the assets that exist, get it into the hands of everyone as soon as possible. And then the gap. We are also trying to split that so that we can, get to restructuring faster. So yeah, rest assured, we're going to try to do this as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you, Nishal.
Thank you so much,
Sajjad.
Sajjad.
Welcome.
I think we've got time for another one or two questions. Atul, do you want to ask?
Yeah, hi. There are three questions. I'll quickly ask them. First thing is, when the scheme finally is approved and we get the cryptos, I'm assuming that we should be able to withdraw these cryptos to our own wallets and not have to just trade it on the exchange. Can you just confirm that?
That's right. To
Mr.
the
Atul,
extent that we have liquid assets that we have rebalanced and are ready for distribution, liquid assets can be withdrawn.
To our own wallet, right?
no, just to add to that, George, I think what he means is once it is once you start the exchange, what crypto assets can you withdraw directly versus what can you trade and what can you just convert to INR. And especially in India, in a lot of exchanges, we've got from a compliance point of view, the crypto withdrawals are not open for all of the accounts, and there are several reasons for that. And Mr. Atul, that part we haven't really seen from a compliance point of view what happens. What we know right now is the status quo. From a compliance point of view, what exists is yes, that's the thing. But above that, I think we need to think deeper. But that's like the second phase, and also it's a function of what can we bring in the scheme. So I don't think right now we can definitely answer on how this will go. The question is, even if we were to open up the withdrawals, like to what I would say, like the KYC levels have to be checked. The time you've spent on the platform, and the activity, the behavior. So there's going to be some parameters that might help us open this up. But I'm not sure. There's no blanket answer to this. That it's not a yes or a no, and that it might be something in between. Like we've always had withdrawals open, but to a section of the customers who qualify based on certain criteria that we have. Now the question is, can we expand that criteria to increase the number of customers who can actually withdraw their crypto versus the ones who can deposit and withdraw only INR? But I don't think we don't have a clear answer to that. This is a good question, and I think we'll need to think deeper and get better opinion on this before we, commit to this.
Yeah, this certainly would have to be done, right? Because the platform stopped withdrawals moment to deposit INR. It was a blanket rule you had currently had, right? But given the special circumstance where people have lost their cryptos, it would just be prudent, I mean, or it would also be fair to allow people to actually withdraw it when the opportunity exists. You're right now, if you're selling out of trade to INR and then withdraw, then tax implications, TDS, everything comes in the mix. So please take that as a
Right.
consideration and give that flexibility to the users, those who want to, of course, to be able to do so. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the first
No,
question.
I agree. I agree. I mean, this is to be. It's also it's also dependent on what the post restructuring exchange looks like what's going to happen, um, and that's why I said we don't have a clear answer right now. It depends on what the scheme entails, or what is the outcome of that, and at that time I think we'll be able to better answer this.
Okay, that's first question. Second question, again, I want address the elephant in the room, your dispute with Binance. Now, Binance came out with a statement where they categorically denied any role in WazirX. I'm sure you must have read their statement as well, right? You, on the other hand, have been claiming from the beginning that WazirX is not owned by you folks and Binance owns it. Now, let's assume that there's a dispute and both parties are sticking to their stand. My question is, in this kind of a situation, and you have said last time that you cannot take certain actions, like, let's say, for example, selling equity in the company because this dispute is preventing you and you're not the owner. How is this going to go forward? Can Binance come and tomorrow say that since this whole thing is in dispute, this whatever scheme you're coming up with will not go through? So I want to understand clearly as to what is preventing you from going the route of taking additional measures when Binance has clearly said that they have no role in this.
I think there are multiple parts to your question. One is, unfortunately, I've put in my affidavit, I can't talk about the dispute. I would like to say something that, ever since 2019, the acquisition happened, I've never changed my statement. So you can, look at, it's not an afterthought or something. I've maintained my statement, and which is the acquisition since 2019, since the time we announced to everyone, and since then, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24 is the same. So it's not like we are changing our stand, because that's the truth, and I'll always speak the truth. Now, what is the outcome and all is on the dispute to decide, and I can't prevent others from talking what they want to. But you have a really good question, which is, I understand you want to understand from a point of view the restructuring process itself, and I think we've clarified that as well on how the restructuring process involves ZI, why ZI has come into the picture, why it is doing, and this is also one of the reasons why we are doing this through the legal process, so that there is absolute clarity on what's doable and what's possible and what's not. George, you want to add something more on this? I think the restructuring part, what Mr. Atul is pointing towards is, I think, more to do about how certain are we that we'll be able to do the restructuring the way we are right now going about it. Considering if there is a dispute, can things change, at least in the restructuring process itself?
And
I think it's a legal
more
part.
specifically
So yeah,
on the part of what actions can ZI, independently take in terms of sale of equity, or you talked about white knights coming in. I'm trying to understand how we can make up the shortfall. And do you have all the means possible at your end, despite the dispute, to make this beneficial so that at least we can recover some of our losses?
Yeah, Atul, that's a great question, right? And but what we can do is talk about what's within our control, and what our control is in respect of the way that we're treating this 52% of liquid assets, giving creditors ability to choose how they get it back, how we can rebalance it, and how we can distribute it. That is well within our control. Another thing that is within our control is tracing and recovering stolen tokens. Another thing that we can do is assess the viability of reactivating on the WazirX trading as a crypto exchange. That will reactivating operations will allow us to generate cash flows, and these cash flows will comprise profits that can be shared with creditors of the platform and help reduce the deficit and the gap. White Knights can continue to be pursued. Our understanding based on legal input is that certain kinds of transaction structures are not capable of being pursued. However, collaborations and partnerships can be entered into, subject to certain restrictions. However, these restrictions do not completely rule out the ability for us to engage with them on a substantive basis. And I think that the key thing is that we are able to work with partners in the space and work on revenue products together to the benefit of both, which will also benefit creditors of ZI in this restructuring.
Okay. Hope something makes its way into the scheme as well. What you talked about post-exchange opening is one part of it, but at the first half itself, when the actual scheme is put in place, hopefully it will not just be users' funds being distributed, but some additional funds from the platforms, and which also makes its way into the scheme to lessen the burden.
That's right. All of this will have to be captured under the schema too.
Okay, excellent. I think, yeah, those two mainly. But yeah, please do take into account the withdrawal part of the crypto. Like everyone talked about trust. If after this whole episode, if the users don't have the trust that they can actually withdraw their crypto and they have to leave it again, and God forbid another incident happens, you can see where this is going. So a simple token of allowing people to withdraw will, at least in my opinion, instill that trust. That exchange is confident that even if people want to withdraw, there is strong enough thing to sustain, right? So please make sure that you take that into account. And yeah, that's all from my side for now.
Thanks for your question, Atul. Okay, thank you everyone for your participation in this third town hall. We received several great questions that we hope we have answered to your satisfaction. Please continue to send through queries to inquiries@wazirx.com or via the customer service support on the app. We're always looking for feedback. And to those of you who have received the email in respect of the phase one of the COC selection process, please enter your details on the Google form link that was provided if you are interested in participating in the COC and help and represent the broader creditor base on their behalf. Nisha, anything further?
No, all good. Thank you so much, everyone. I think the general direction and feedback we've been getting is to speed up the process, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that we get to the restructuring quickly and be able to open up the platform again for all of you. And in parallel, while we work on other things, this becomes our top priority, and we're definitely going to work towards that. We just need your support in this, in this journey to opening up the platform again for everyone. So we look forward to your support. Thank you so much. I think until now also we've been, really we're thankful to your continued support until now, and we look forward to putting together the COC so that we can have faster communication with the creditor representatives. We're also our support channels have always been open. I think the last 60 days, we've received more than 30,000 people writing into our support channels, and we've responded to them. So any questions that you have, just log into the app or on the website, and you have your support option there. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer any of the questions that you might have. We're also reaching out to you through emails, through our blog post, our social media announcements, and we'll continue to do that. Our objective is to keep you informed and make the process as transparent as possible.